You know, there is a certain move, a certain power move in the golf swing that is often misunderstood and sometimes even demonized. But unlocking this move could be the key to you hitting the longest drives of your life. So if you want to find out what it is, this forbidden magic move, then by all means stay tuned. Hey, this is Steve with HitItLonger.com. I continue my journey to hit the ball longer and straighter from tee to green. If you'd like to join me and hit the ball a little longer and straighter this coming year, by all means join me. Hit the subscribe button, support the channel by hitting the like button, and leaving a comment down below. All right, so the move that I'm talking about specifically is the lateral shift of the left hip as we start the downswing. Something like this as you step on from right foot over to left foot. And amazingly, I've seen so many teachers who've kind of discouraged you from making this move. They just really want you to kind of turn without really shifting over laterally towards the target. Well, let's take a look at a video of Rory McIlroy. I want you to take a look. I've drawn a little line through the little tree on the other side of the lake we're looking at. So he's swinging in super slow-mo. There's a little tree. You can see his hip is maybe a hand width away from it from our perspective. And as he starts the downswing, the first thing that's happening, you can see, is he's completely closing the gap, touching that tree with the left hip, where he might have been 7-8 inches off it at the top of the swing. So it was a pretty big winding up and making a pretty big step over an advance of the left hip towards the target. Now, just about every powerful swinger makes this move, and the reason is because it helps to generate speed. Well, how does it do that? Well, number one, it is giving you a tiny bit of a linear boost, driving all your body and towards the target. It's very minor. So, for example, if you were doing a Happy Gilmore and running up on it at 15 miles an hour if you could and hitting it, or maybe swinging from a moving golf cart if you could, yeah, that linear force, linear speed would be added into the speed of the club head, but that's not the primary source of speed. That's only a very minor source. But what we're trying to do here is create ground force stepping down into the left foot and over. And I believe that the best way to create the most ground force is by centering your pelvis on top of your heel like this, so I can balance on one leg. So I don't think you can quite make as big of a lateral shift and therefore center your pelvis over your heel from an overly wide stance. You see, if I'm overly wide here, I kind of get stuck in the middle and I don't feel like I can plant all my body weight down into the ground and create this force. Now, this force we're working off of here, it's once we start resisting that force that we're planting into the ground, or they say the action reaction, the ground actually pushes back on you, is what that does is it helps our torso to unwind, and that becomes the multiplier. You can see that's a pretty good punch just from rotating. Even if I don't exactly actually extend my arm out, I can make a pretty big punch just by the rotation of my chest. The rotation is spurred on by the stepping down and the creating of force. And the best way, I think, to create the most amount of force down into the ground through the left foot is by shifting the entire pelvis and centering it on top as you're striking the ball. All right, so let's take a look at a swing I'm going to make here. We'll look back at it in slow-mo, and we'll see if I'm not also closing that gap like Rory did. That's a good solid drive. Let's take a look back at the slow-mo now. You can see that absolutely I create a bigger gap on the way back. You can see I've drawn a line there where I started my left hip, and where my left hip ends up at impact. And you see, not only do I bump through the first line to the second line, but in the backswing, I've also wound away from the first line, effectively giving me kind of a running start at that furthest line to where I can really generate some velocity, moving my hips over and therefore stepping down. All right, so I've strategically positioned my second favorite chair here. You'll see that I've set it up opposite my left hip in my setup, and I've set it about one medium spread hand width, which for me is probably around 7 inches or so. So your mileage may vary depending on, I'm 6'2", if you're 5'6", and your hands are smaller, that might be 5 inches instead of 7 inches. You'll kind of figure it out a little bit by trial and error. But now I've got this thing positioned. I got my speed whoosh here, and I'm just gonna make some slow, easy swings. Pretend you're out in the backyard and you've got your driver, or you've got one of these guys, and you can use a patio chair or something like this. And you're really just gonna try to go over and touch it and finish turned up against it. So the first thing that will hit it will be, you see, the left hip, and here it's positioned where I even might raise it and then swing through like that. So you can even just do them with the left arm first, bump over, lift the chair, turn through, and now my stomach or my thighs actually are touching it rather than my hip as I've turned through. Let's give it a little bit more speed now. And again, it shows that I've closed the gap. So I'll do a number of these. You can do it with one arm, then two arm. Start slow, keep adding speed. If you're not making this move now, you might find that you short it a lot. And if you're that person who has a hard time getting all the way to the chair, you also might have an issue not just with power, but also with your divot location. I've found that people who aren't getting over to the chair will often release a little too soon and hit the divot behind the ball. All right, I'm now onto some ball swings. You might not be able to bring a chair to the range with you, but it's possible to orient your stand-up bag to where the head covers are sitting right here. That's a possibility. You might try that, positioning those just again about a medium spread hand width away. And you should bump it with the hip first and then turn and end up with the thighs or the belt buckle up against it like that. All right, see, at the end of that swing, I was pressed up against the chair like this. Hopefully you can work on that too. Start closing this gap, this handspan gap, just like you saw Rory do in the intro. And I think it's gonna help you be able to get more power with ease. All right, I'm gonna head back and hit a few more. Keep working on my weight shift and pivot. Use it to help me get more ground forces, more rotation, and therefore more easy club head speed. I hope it works for you too. Hey, thanks for watching. I'm Steve, and if I don't see you in the next video, of course I hope I see you longer and straighter down the fairway. Everybody take good care.